to dedicate to the anti-drug cause at a time when the cocaine production, the growth of coca, and the production of cocaine, I should say, in Colombia is at historic levels 3 years running. Where do you think that cocaine is headed? A lot of it's headed to our streets. That will be on top of fentanyl and heroin and all the other problems we have. We are going to have a cocaine crisis in this country because all that cocaine is headed here. Colombia is out there trying to fight against it. But their resources are being drained because they have at this moment at least 1 million, probably 1.2, 1.3 million Venezuelan migrants who have had to leave Venezuela and are now in their territory. Listen, if the United States suddenly absorbed 1 million migrants over a 12 to 18-month period, we would struggle to afford what that would entail. Imagine Colombia, whose economy is a fraction of the size of ours. And that means instead of being able to spend money fighting the drug cartels to prevent them from bringing the drugs here, they've had to dedicate resources to the humanitarian costs of housing over 1 million people and growing. It's not just Colombia, by the way, that's being compromised. Ecuador, about 160, 170,000 Venezuelan migrants. Peru, 350,000 Venezuelan migrants. These people are not bad. They're not criticizing the migrants. But these governments, these are not big governments. Some of these governments have budgets smaller than most of our states. They cannot afford this, and it is threatening to collapse their public health system, which means you may not just have a humanitarian catastrophe in Venezuela. We may soon have a growing economic catastrophe in Brazil, in Peru, in Ecuador, and in Colombia. Multiple countries in our hemisphere, and geography matters. That would be a terrible thing if it's happening in Africa or halfway around the world. It would directly impact the lives of Americans and our economy and our well-being because of how close it is to our country in multiple ways. And so if you think that having a humanitarian crisis in multiple countries in our hemisphere, including countries aligned with us in the war against drugs, then you should care about what's happening in Venezuela. So what's the road forward now? Because I hope people have been compelled to at least understand that this is about more than just caring about democracy. That's a big part of it. We do, and I'm proud of it. But it's about more than just that. This is in the national interest of the United States. And we should be proud, not just of the bipartisan support in favor of the interim president and of democracy in Venezuela. We should be proud of the job that the National Security Council, the White House, and the State Department have done. Because unlike 25 or 30 years ago, this wasn't some unilateral American action where we went in there telling everybody what to do. This is international organisms like the OAS. Today, the Secretary of State appeared at the OAS personally to argue the American case. And he was joined by 15 other countries who voted on a resolution agreeing with our principles on this, and their principles. The leadership of these countries under the auspices of the Lima Group has been extraordinary. The U.S. is an equal partner to them in this endeavor. But what's going to happen now is Maduro is probably going to, instead of he being the one that arrests the interim president, he's going to say, I'm going to turn over to the courts and let them decide. Well, he controls the courts. These guys are all cronies. They're also corrupt, by the way, sanctioned by the U.S. government. So he could very well move to try to arrest the interim president, Juan Guaido, which is tonight, tomorrow, the next day, although the eyes of the world are upon him, and the consequences for that would be extraordinary and severe. You're already starting to hear them talk about, let's have negotiations. This is a tactic they have now used repeatedly, and they use it because they know we all like negotiations. Everybody, anytime there's an international crisis, why don't we all just sit down and negotiate our way through this? And ideally, that would be the outcome. But he doesn't really want negotiations. He wants a delay tactic. He's done this now multiple times. There were negotiations from the Vatican, and they gave up. Then the former Prime Minister of Spain was involved in some of these negotiations. Those were a total catastrophe. He's just doing this to buy time. Now he's talking about Mexico and Uruguay being the host of a negotiation. I wouldn't be surprised if soon he says, why doesn't Russia come in and be the interlocutor? How about that for a national security threat and a national interest threat? Having Vladimir Putin brokering political of it. He fancies himself a great global leader. You're going to see him do that, but it's all an effort to buy time. He has no intention of negotiating anything, because it buys him time to do what? It buys him time for his fake Constituent Assembly to change the Constitution towards one-party rule, or even potentially to call new flash elections at some point for a new National Assembly under this fraudulent election system he set up. And to many people, they'll say, oh, they had an election, the opposition lost. But it won't be a real election if the candidate people that could win aren't allowed to run, you're not allowed to advertise, you have no access to the media, they control the ballot box, and they extort people with access to food. At some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see him declare a state of emergency. Maybe go out there and trigger some fake incident false flag where agitators go out and commit violence, and he'll say the protesters are out of control, state of emergency. Why would he do that? So he can paralyze the streets, no one can be out there protesting, and if the opposition tries to leave their homes, now he has a pretext to arrest them. But there really is only one way forward, and that is to do everything we can to strengthen the legitimate interim government, and that began today. The interim president, his first request was for humanitarian aid to help bring food and medicine and medical supplies to the people inside Venezuela. The Secretary of State of the United States immediately announced that as an initial step, we are going to provide immediately $20 million. I know they're working through how to deliver that into Venezuela and how to position that so the Venezuelan people have access to it. This is on top of and apart from the aid we're already providing the migrants in Colombia and in other places. That's a good first step. On day one on the job, the interim president, Juan Guaido, made a request of the international community, and America immediately stepped forward, and I believe very shortly, in a matter of days, there will be significant humanitarian aid, food and medicine, awaiting the people of Venezuela, either within their own territory and distributed through the Red Cross or some other non-governmental organization, or just across the border where they can access it. We have to continue to make clear to the elites in that country that there is no future for Maduro, that there is no way that he can hold on, and they need to begin thinking about who their loyalty should be to. The Constitution they swore an allegiance to, the people they live among, or some guy whose future is about to come to an end. I think it's important that the National Guard know that not only should they not repress the people, but they'll be held accountable if they do. And ultimately, I believe this deeply. I know that the generals and all the guys at the press conference with the fancy uniforms have sworn allegiance, although you notice how nervous they were. But I can tell you the rank and file fighters do not. You know why? Because the rank and file soldier and the mid-level officer in the Venezuelan military, they don't have corruption deals. They're going just as hungry as everybody else. They have massive rates of desertion, people just abandoning posts. And when you saw the images yesterday of the hundreds of thousands of people in the streets, you know that many of those soldiers had mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and loved ones and wives and children in that crowd. And you know who else knows that? The military brass. And I know for a fact that they have significant doubts. In fact, they probably do not even believe that if they ordered the military to act against their own people, that the military would. Because there's no way that these rank and file soldiers are going to shoot on their brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and other loved ones. So we need to step forward and continue with the humanitarian aid. We need to help use the leadership of the United States to put together reconstruction aid. And we need to help the interim president with whatever he needs to be able to carry out a legitimate, free and fair and internationally supervised election, which he should call for in the next 45 days. This is the path forward. It's in our national interest. It's the right thing to do. It reflects our values, but it also reflects our interests as a nation. And that's why this matters. That's why we should care. This is not halfway around the world. This is in our own hemisphere. Just a few hours flight away. And it impacts more than just one country. It impacts an entire hemisphere. And I'll close with this. There's been a lot of criticism historically over the U.S. role in the Western Hemisphere. During the Cold War, the criticism was that we were supporting right-wing dictators fighting off communism, that we were involved in coups, and that we had a heavy hand and got in and imposed ourselves. Then we went the total opposite, and for many, many years, in fact, up until very recently, no one even talked about the Western Hemisphere, and to the extent we did, it was about migration and drugs. It was almost, frankly, a complete abandonment of the portfolio. What you're seeing now is the potential birth of a new Latin America, a new Western Hemisphere, one in which the United States is an important partner, but not a unilateral actor. When you see 16 countries in this hemisphere come together with the economic and diplomatic weight of Peru and Chile and Colombia and Argentina and Brazil, when you see the OAS come alive after years of, frankly, not playing them, when's the last time any of us here even discussed any of the things happening at the OAS? You start to see the beginning of not just a way to confront this crisis in Venezuela, but of a hemispheric partnership whose impetus may have been this crisis, but creates a path forward that's in our national interests. Imagine if, in fact, the democracies and free people of this region came together not just to tackle dictatorships, but to tackle drugs, to tackle the root cause of migration. Imagine a hemispheric 16, 18 regional nation response to what's happening in El Salvador and Honduras and Guatemala that's causing these people to undertake this dangerous journey with their children in many cases. Imagine if it wasn't just the United States, but us working in partnership with all these other countries to tackle these hemispheric challenges. I'll tell you, that's in our national interest. And not only is this an opportunity to do the right thing in Venezuela, it's an opportunity to give the start to a new hemispheric reality, a new Latin American reality that serves the national interests of this country and allows us to live in a hemisphere that is free and prosperous, where people do not have to abandon their homelands, where people can stay in their countries if they so choose and raise their families and not have to undertake dangerous journeys to other countries for fear of their lives. But we have to start somewhere. And I can think of no better place to start than on behalf of the people of Venezuela, who have suffered terribly for far too long under a dictatorial, corrupt regime, who has tortured their children and murdered their fathers and mothers, and denied a once prosperous country the future they deserve. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Recognize the senator.
Mr. President, I come to the floor today to implore my colleagues and the President to end the shutdown and reopen the federal government. We are now on day 34 of this shutdown, which is well past being the longest in American history. You think about what our country has been through: Civil War, World War I, World War II. You think about what we had with protests, what we had with the country in the Depression, what we had only a decade ago with the biggest downturn since the Depression. Through all of that, even through a few shutdowns, we somehow, in this chamber and in the House and in the White House, we're somehow able to get our act together, and we're somehow able to keep the government open. Now is the time to open the government, Mr. President. The 800.
All right, everybody, good evening. My name is Pilar Arias, and you are watching News Now, which is a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. First and foremost, I have to apologize to you. We have no idea what happened on YouTube with our former stream. We're trying to figure out exactly what happened. I was going to turn off slow mode because I'd noticed that we'd actually dropped viewers a little bit, and then as soon as I was doing that, the stream just like disappeared, ended, and then I attempted to go back to the old stream when I launched the new stream to give you all the link, because there were still about 200 there and it said the chat was closed, and I've never seen anything like that before. Our web team here, again, we're looking at it, we are working on it, and then all of a sudden we just had the Senate floor there and now it's gone. So you're taking a live look at the White House. Let's take a look at the Capitol as well, since we've been on Capitol Hill all day streaming both the House and the Senate floor. And now let's go to New York. And then in just a few moments, if we don't get the Senate floor back, what we're going to do is we're going to get you all caught up with some of the day's top stories and headlines. And remember, of course, News Now is always preparing for Fox 10 Extra News at 7, Channel 45, Cable 9. I know we have a little bit longer than usual to get there. But again, if anything breaks, we'll have you covered. And please click subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. And again, thanks for being here, everybody. And so sorry about what happened with that last stream. We're trying to figure out if there was anything on our end that we could have done to prevent it or exactly what happened. So we appreciate your patience and your understanding, and really thank you for being a News Now viewer. All right, everyone, we're going to be moving on. Get some of the day's top stories and headlines ready to go for you. Again, hope you're having a fabulous day. Thanks for being here with News Now, which is part of Fox10Phoenix.com. I'm going to make sure I've got everything ready to go for you that I talked about at the end of News Now on Fox 10 Extra with Mike Pace. I believe I do. Got several different top stories for you. This first one I'm going to show you is about campers trapped for 14 days in the snow. They were rescued. Let's hear the story.
This is video of Sheriff's Deputy Charles Miranda on a rescue mission to save 2 campers and their dogs. The deputy slowly lowering onto the snowy mountain where the group had been trapped for 2 weeks.
I was hoisted down, made contact with them, and they were very grateful. They were scared and glad that someone was there to get them out.
The couple and their dogs, a little Chihuahua and a mixed breed, were all camping on the north side of Alamo Mountain near Castaic when last week's storms came through. The storm knocked over a huge tree, which blocked access to the road, and the snow was so deep, their truck was stuck.
And I think they were thinking the snow was going to melt a little quicker than it did, and that's why they were waiting it out.
But after surviving for 2 weeks, they were out of food and fuel.
They had fuel for the stove to melt the water, but then they ran out of fuel, and now they were thirsty because they weren't able to get water out of the snow.
On Wednesday morning, a team of 5 deputies with the Special Enforcement Bureau assembled inside this rescue helicopter and set off to find the couple who had called for help.
So they hiked a couple miles, realized they had cell reception, and contacted 911 through an app we have. We're able to locate their latitude and longitude.
The area where they were found was too rugged for the helicopter to land, so pilot Jim Wolfhope held it steady as deputies hoisted down.
We work and we train as a team together, and it makes rescues like this rather routine.
Deputy Miranda was the first one to reach the couple.
What kind of condition were they in when you first made contact with them?
Dehydrated, they're burned from the sun, the reflected sun on the snow, hungry, tired.
But amazingly, they weren't injured. This photo was taken inside the helicopter after the rescue. The couple and their 2 tired pups, happy to be finally heading home.
Bringing you right out here to Phoenix, Arizona, a live look now. Pretty blue skies out there, hardly any clouds in the sky. A little bit warmer than it's been earlier this week for sure. And I know I enjoy the warmth. Lots of others probably enjoy the warmth as well. Continuing on with our top stories from across the country all day, here is a look at how to resist junk food. And it might not be exactly what you think.
New York soft pretzels.
French fries.
Sour Patch.
Burger King. Strawberry Nesquik all the time.
It's happening right now, and it's Chipotle.
Whatever our personal fast food, junk food weaknesses, most of us either struggle to devise or keep to a tactic to resist those sugary, salty, fried, and breaded cravings.
I don't.
I leave the state and go to my other house, and then it's too far to go to the fast food place.
Frankly, I don't spend much time down in Midtown where I can get them, so usually I do get them every time I'm there.
A new study published in the Journal of Marketing Research found just smelling the food we're craving for 2 or more minutes drastically reduced the craving of the moment.
Consumers can use that information to help them make healthier choices.
Registered dietitian Rachel Lustgarten attributes the strength of our cravings to the sophistication of food manufacturer recipes, combining fat, sugar, salt, and a mouth-watering aroma to trigger our brains to demand those foods.
There's a real science behind the creation of these foods, and it's a really profitable one.
But the researchers behind the Just Smelling study hypothesized those aromas alone might satisfy our brain's cravings, thereby saving our bodies from having to consume and process these less healthful options.
I feel like they're tasty, but I also feel like they've been on the cart for a couple of days, so that makes me feel connected to the city.
On the Upper East Side, I'm Matt King, Fox 5 News.
What do you all think? It's not quite smell-o-vision, but do you think it would work? This next top story we got for you is about a Mizzou student death investigation. Jasmine Ramirez has the story.
Students began moving back into their residence halls last Thursday. MU's first day of classes was yesterday, but the start to the spring semester brought unfortunate news for the MU community.
We saw there were like some ambulances or like an ambulance here, and there were a few police cars, and I asked some friends like what was going on, and nobody really knew.
Elizabeth Cruzy lives in Mark Twain, but didn't learn the reason for yesterday's 's emergency response until today.
And I'm stunned that it happened. And I'm stunned that it happened yesterday. 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 And and I didn't know.
Boston Perry was found unconscious and not breathing around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. He was unable to be resuscitated. The junior was studying information technologies in the College of Engineering. MU spokesperson Christian Basie says they are offering counseling to all students, especially classmates and friends who may have known Perry.
Our counseling center is very, very good about these things, and so they have 24/7 counseling services available to all of our students who are in crisis, and so this is something that we're able to provide to our students today.
Taking you back out live to the White House. Looks like a beautiful evening there in our nation's capital. Remember, if anything breaks, we'll have you covered here on News Now, which is a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. For those of you here saying, hey, where's the shutdown coverage? We were watching the House and the Senate floor earlier today. We no longer have either live picture. When and if that changes, we will bring them to you here. Okay, turns out 2 rappers are fighting for what they say is justice reform. Can you guess who?
Sharing the stage at John Jay College, rappers Meek Mill and Jay-Z joined owners of the Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and the New England Patriots to announce a new organization called the Reform Alliance. Its mission? To lobby for reform in the American criminal justice system.
But for me, I'm from RC Projects, I'm from Brooklyn, and this has been a part of my life. This is communities that we grew up in, friends that I have, people around me. So I grew up with this issue.
The movement was inspired by the experience of Meek Mill, who was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison after a minor violation of his parole stemming from a 2008 drug and gun possession conviction, leading to the Free Meek campaign and his release on bail in April 2018.
As a father, why is this cause so important to you?
As a father, the statistics is if of a black man going to prison, it's 80% chance that your son will end up in prison, and that doesn't really sit well with me. My father was in prison. I remember seeing my father at the age of 2-3 years old in prison, and 16 years later, I was being placed in prison too. So, you know, I want to actually break the chains and change that.
For his longtime friend, Philadelphia 76ers co-owner Michael Rubin, change is imperative.
We're spending tens of billions of dollars to put people, incarcerate people that have no risk to communities. It doesn't make sense. The laws are literally made to entrap minorities, and we just want to be equal and fair for everybody.
So what does success look like? Well, founder Michael Rubin says the organization hopes to get 1 million people out of the criminal justice system over the next 5 years. At John Jay College, I'm Baruch Shemtov, Fox 5 News.
All right, I'm going to bring you back out here to Arizona instead of the White House, everybody. This is a live look at our current weather conditions. The Valley of the Sun looking quite nice for sure. This next top story we have for you right here in Phoenix. That's why I wanted to show you Phoenix live. Our very own Ty Brennan showing us how some firefighters competed in a hot sauce challenge. Sign me up. I love some spicy food.
3, 2, 1, go.
This was one hot competition.
Each one of us is going to have a platter, a personal platter, and we have to put 3 packets of hot sauce on each platter, and whichever team is collectively done first wins.
8 members of the Avondale Fire Department going head-to-head.
We have 2 teams. We have B shift over here and C shift over here.
Each having to stomach the Halal Guy's infamously hot sauce.
It's 10 times spicier than a jalapeno, 2 times spicier than a habanero. It does pack a little punch, but it definitely elevates the platter, so everybody loves it.
Have you been preparing for this?
No, not at all. No, not at all. We'll see how it goes.
The pain worth the reward, though. The winning team receiving $500 to the charity of their choice. The B shift competing for the Avondale Fire Charities, and the C shift competing for the Care First Avondale Family Resources. And in the end,
it's miserable. Yeah.
The B shift taking home the title and the prize.
Taking you out now, live look in New York City. This next top story could be frightening for some homeowners. It's about a hit and run into a house.
The truck was in their living room with the back end sticking out.
The truck slamming into the front of this home on Southwest 18th Street and 44th Avenue near Fort Lauderdale late Tuesday night. The driver taking off almost as fast as the crash happened.
He was peeling wheels and burning rubber. Well, he got loose and reversed out and then headed down 18th. He headed east on 18th. he had a big piece of drywall on his windshield, and that is now sitting down in the middle of the road down there. And then he just raced down 43rd Way.
Shannon Parks lives across the street and called 911. She says a young woman, her boyfriend, and daughter were home, thankfully in a different room.
They were okay. They came out of the back bedroom, and they're like, we're okay. And I said, okay. And I was on the phone with 911. They just kept me on the phone and got the police on their way.
The truck, believed to be a Toyota, lost its bumper in the crash and was left on scene. That may help authorities track the driver down.
Don't know what happened. He had to have turned straight into the house. So, and then reversed out, and don't know if he was intoxicated or what was going on there.
Here's a live look at the U.S. Capitol. Continuing on with the top stories of the day from across the country. This next one is about a family who says they discovered their home security system cameras had been hacked.
Last night, I was like, I don't want to live here anymore.
They only moved in 3 months ago, but Abila Guidao and Conrado Casalo say they're uncomfortable inside their Auburn home.
I did not feel like I was alone.
The family installed security cameras, which are connected to the internet, and they say that's when they started hearing things.
Last week is when we, like 4 a.m., you know, a huge sound woke us up. I hear talking on this side. The moment I turned the light on and the reflection went on the window in front of me, the sound stopped.
But the couple says things got really creepy this week while Abby and the children sat here in the living room. She says she could hear multiple male voices. At first, she thought it was Conrado just checking in via the security cameras.
And then they started cussing, and then I was like, huh? That's not Conrado. And then they go, nice laptop. And I was like, okay, someone's looking at me.
Abby wanted proof.
I grabbed a chair, and then I was doing this, but my face was back here, and my hand was right here, because I didn't want to look at them. They were like, what the F are you doing? And so that's when I stopped the video, because I was shaking.
Abby and Conrado called Auburn police, who confirmed they are investigating. Conrado says he also discovered Abby's login account had been hacked.
That's not her profile picture.
Cybersecurity experts at WatchGuard Technologies say if you have security cameras with internet access, you want to be sure to always use a strong password and protect it with a firewall or secure router. Also, limit web access to the cameras whenever possible.
These things do happen. I do definitely feel very violated.
In Auburn, Jamie Tompkins, Q13 News.
Wow, that certainly got a lot of you talking on our YouTube chat. That is for sure. All right, going to take you out to Austin, Texas, where a gay couple says they were attacked due to their sexuality.
Spencer Deering and Tristan Perry left Rain nightclub around 2:20 Saturday morning after celebrating a friend's birthday there.
We were holding hands. We were showing we always show public displays of affection, and we're not afraid to do so.
When they got near the area of 4th Street and Guadalupe and passed a man on the street, the celebration suddenly ended.
So he walked in the opposite direction of us and used a homophobic slur kind of under his breath.
Spencer says he quickly replied saying, "I couldn't hear you." That's when he realized it could have been part of a bigger plan.
At that very moment, he kind of looked over to his right and just signaled to like 4 or 5 other guys that just came out of nowhere.
Before the couple made it back to their car, Spencer says the taunting escalated and then turned violent. One man punched Tristan, breaking his nose. Then the others joined in.
The last blow he took was an extremely long kick to the back of his head. So at that point, I thought he was dead. I thought that kick alone had killed him. And so when he was just laying there, my first instinct kicked in to kind of just charge at the guy that kicked him because I wanted to create some kind of diversion.
That's when the men started punching Spencer until both of them were lying unconscious in the street.
I think that if Spencer wasn't with me, I would have not made it or not be here today.
The couple says it's thanks to a witness that they survived the attack. They're discouraged that something so violent could happen in Austin just because of their sexual orientation.
This would have been the last place that I would have imagined it would happen.
An FBI report released a few months ago cites Austin as having more hate crimes than any other Texas city in 2017, 18 total. 4 of them related to sexual orientation and 1 for gender identity, putting Austin second statewide for hate crimes against the LGBTQ community. But that doesn't make Spencer and Tristan question whether this is the right place for them.
We may be a little shooken up for the next few weeks, and we may be on our toes, but from now on going forward, we're going to keep our eyes open while we're in public, but we're not going to stop going out in public, and we're not going to stop showing public displays of affection.
The pain they feel following the attack isn't just emotional, it's physical too. Stitches, concussions, broken bones, and bruises. The couple can only hope the city they now call home will find, charge, and prosecute the attackers for what they did.
I think that we would both like it to be as a hate crime, as well as bringing awareness back to this issue that it's still happening in 2019, and even as far as we've come in the past couple of years, like, this is still a relevant problem, obviously.
The sun is quickly setting here in the Valley of the Sun. Got one more top story ready for you. It's about a Confederate statue controversy. Allison Smith has this story. It's all too common across the country these days.
The city of Winston-Salem trying to strike a balance.
A place for it that's appropriate, dignified, and serene.
Between polarizing opinions.
What it represents to us. It represents love, honor, and respect.
The statue downtown is an articulation of oppression.
Tuesday night, dozens of people shared with city council members the message they believe this Confederate statue downtown is sending.
I don't think that a monument who was erected by a man who declared a desire to commit murder against people of color is a way to honor any of those sacrifices.
At the end of December, the city told the United Daughters of the Confederacy, move the statue by January 31st or face legal action. Now, the mayor says he doesn't believe it will come to that.
The owner of the land underneath the statue has also said they want the statue off from there. So I think they have the clearest and simplest track to take is that to have something removed from their property. So we'll be working cooperatively with them on a schedule.
Previously, the mayor said the city would pay for the statue to be relocated to Old Salem Cemetery. And he says that offer is still on the table.
We have said to the owners of the cemetery that, we will make sure that it's a quiet, serene movement, but we've got indications from the Ministers' Conference in Winston-Salem and the NAACP that they believe this is an appropriate place.
All right, look at this. We turned around our mountain cam, tower cam, however you'd like to refer to it, to give you the best view of this sunset here in the valley. So once again, everybody, we're going to share a sunset together. We're going to watch it live, and then who knows what else might happen today live that we have for you here on News Now. Behold, the triple box. Hey, my name is Pilar Arias. This is News Now. It's a part of Fox10Phoenix.com. Happy you're here. 104 of you sticking it out with us. And big thank you to those of you who went from the old stream to this new stream. We still have no idea what happened to our old stream. We had about 1,500 people watching, and all of a sudden the stream went bye-bye. I was going to turn off slow mode, and I noticed the stream was gone. I then started a new stream, copied the new stream's link, went to the old stream to put it in there so all of you could hop on over to the new stream. And YouTube had said something like the chat was not available and please find another stream, which I have never, ever seen before. So we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened. Hopefully we can, and when we do, I would love to share that information with you. I'm just as curious as you guys are. Feel free to let us know what happened on your end when the stream ended, and we'd really appreciate that, just to kind of get more feedback and find out exactly what may have happened. So, hope you're having a great day. Thank you to the everyday viewers who tune in every single day. We really appreciate it. I like to call you guys News Nowers. I hope that's all right. We got the triple box going on. New York on the left, both DC pictures on the right. We were on Capitol Hill a lot today. I'm going to get you all caught up on Shutdown Showdown Day 34. 2 bills went through the Senate, both failed. The president's proposal and the Democrats' proposal both failed. So the shutdown continues, and we're going to continue to follow it for you, and then we'll get you all caught up about a missing Kentucky mother, which surprisingly has some strikingly similar details to the Boston woman who went missing. We'll get you all caught up here on Fox 10 Extra News at 7, Channel 45, Cable 9. 15 minutes away from Fox 10 Extra News at 7, Channel 45, Cable 9. You could also do what we call hashtag double tab and have both the News Now streams so you can chat with your friends open, and then go to fox10phoenix.com/live to watch the broadcast in its entirety, how it looks on TV. No Thursday videos, I wish. Maybe we'll do for Friday. All right, everybody, just learned I'm about a minute and a half out, so here I am playing with my hair, as usual. Yeah, good evening, Mark and Christina. Let's get straight to it here. Day 34 is coming to a close. The Senate held 2 votes to reopen shuttered federal agencies, but both were expected to fail from the beginning. The Republican and Democrat bills did not get the needed votes to advance, just as leaders predicted, even though some senators did cross party lines during the votes. Not quite sure where the sound is here. Let me see if I can get it for you all. All right. Well, she said there, I respect the president's priority and the emphasis that he has placed on border security, but we can't continue after 34 days. Well over a month into the shutdown, frustration is growing. Some GOP senators are asking President Trump to consider a 3-week bill to reopen the government so talks can continue. Before the vote, the last-minute bill from Louisiana Senator John Kennedy was brought up to fund the Coast Guard, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer objected, saying it doesn't take into account the other federal employees without pay. It's now back to the drawing board, some hoping, even though the votes were not successful, that at least it's getting negotiations going. A group of bipartisan senators are now planning to continue discussions behind the scenes. The president did speak after these votes today, and he said that if they could come up with a good compromise, that he would support it. Fox News Now streams live news coverage from across the country all day. A link is on our website, fox10phoenix.com. All right, everyone, are you ready to be my guinea pigs? I have no idea what just happened to that sound there. I did a rehearsal and it worked A-OK, so now I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of these videos for you. They're going to be repeats. I just want to make sure this audio is working, and I'm going to check and make sure that everything's all right. I think I've got it down. Let's figure it out.
I respect the president's priority and the emphasis that he has placed on border security, but we can't continue after 34 days.
I just got off the phone with the president. I told him we're talking about a 3-week CR, and all of us believe if we had 3 weeks with
The one cause of this shutdown is the one person who bragged he wanted it, President Donald Trump.
Got it. It works. We fixed it. Yay! Okay, a lot of weird things have happened today, folks. That's A-okay. You got to roll with the punches and keep going and keep a smile on your face, which is what we're doing here at News Now, which is part of Fox10Phoenix.com. Again, if anything breaks, we got you covered. Meanwhile, I'm going to get you all caught up in just a few minutes on the Kentucky missing mother, and oddly enough, there's some similarities to the Boston woman who was missing and was found safe. So we will wait to see exactly what's going on. All right, everyone, what do you say that since you didn't quite get to hear that in its entirety, that we do it the way that it should have been on Fox 10 Extra News at 7, Channel 45, Cable 9. Again, my name's Pilar Arias. Thanks so much for being here. So the way that should have went, and I'm hoping this will be able to work properly this time. Are you guys ready? All right, the Senate held 2 votes to reopen shuttered federal agencies, but both were expected to fail from the beginning. The Republican and Democrat bills did not get the needed votes to advance, just as leaders predicted, even though some senators did cross party lines during the vote.
Respect the president's priority and the emphasis that he has placed on border security, but we can't continue after 34 days.
Well over a month into the shutdown, frustration is growing. Some GOP senators are asking President Trump to consider a 3-week bill to reopen the government so talks can continue.
I just got off the phone with the president. I told him we're talking about a 3-week CR, and all of us believe if we had 3 weeks with the government open, all the discord coming from a shutdown, that we could find a way forward to produce a bill that he would sign.
Before the votes, a last-minute bill from Louisiana Senator John Kennedy was brought up to fund the Coast Guard, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer objected, saying it doesn't take into account the other federal employees without pay.
The one cause of this shutdown is the one person who bragged he wanted it, President Donald Trump.
It's now back to the drawing board, some hoping even though the votes were not successful that at least it's getting negotiations going. A group of bipartisan senators are planning to continue discussions behind the scenes. President Donald Trump did speak after both of these votes failed today. He said if Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell can come up with a compromise, that he would support it. Don't forget, Fox News Now streams live news coverage from across the country all day. A link is on our website, fox10phoenix.com. Thank you to each and every one of you who are here with us live now. That's how it was supposed to go on TV. Let's hope it's better next time around. All right, everyone, I'm still here with you. And I kind of want to show you exactly what goes on and how I can kind of troubleshoot and figured out what happened there with the audio. So hi, hello. Everybody always asks, who's Pilar? What's a Pilar? I'm Pilar, happy to be here with you. So I do want to show you some quirks. A lot of you actually know the name of the system that we use here at News Now, and I want to show you. So anytime I have a triple box up, such as this one. You see this one right here. It used to play one of our sources' audio, whether or not that source was actually in one of these 3 boxes. That's why it's called a triple box. There's 3 different sources up there, 3 boxes. And so the audio would always play for like one of our video sources anytime we had one of these up. And I brought it up yesterday to an engineer. I was like, hey, the audio is playing on this source every time I have a triple box up. And he's like, okay, well, it's got to be some sort of setting that's going on in there. So we were wondering if perhaps the reason, anyway, so right now while you guys were watching the triple box, I was preparing for the show, right? Fox 10 Extra News at 7, Channel 45, Cable 9, and I had that audio up and I had it on a way that I can listen to it while you guys are watching something else. And so I don't know how, but it appears that like it X'd itself out. The audio like cut itself off like entirely while I was trying to listen to it while you guys were watching this. So I know a little bit of interesting little like, hey, you know, why do we care sort of thing, but a little bit behind the scenes just kind of explaining. And the good thing is when something like that does happen, I would say the majority of the time I can figure out exactly what happened and go back and try to figure it out and troubleshoot and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I actually even just remember that there's a button really close to the button right here that can actually allow me to listen in my earpiece something separately from what you guys are watching. And so that may have been a factor too. You never know. But like I said, the good thing is I figured out the issue. We have fixed it. We are hoping the next time you see me, everything will be A-OK. But meanwhile, though, we're just going to be live in New York City, taking a look here. This is one of my favorite live pictures to ever show you guys, by the way, because, you know, you got the cars, you got the locals and the tourists walking on the street. We've got Radio City Music Hall. We still have the holiday lights on the trees. So it's one of my faves. I hope you guys like it, too. All right, I have a question for you all. Who was watching our stream earlier today when it just went kaput? Just ended, just stopped. Let me know. I would like to know. All right, we got viewers asking for some news while we wait for my next Fox 10 Extra News at 7 hit. So got something for you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. The Secretary General spoke at a plenary session at the World Economic Forum in Davos today, and he underlined the modern contradiction in which global challenges are interlinked, but our response is fragmented. There's also a growing sense, he said, that political systems, nationally and internationally, have lost the confidence of many people. Speaking as a multilateralist, he said that we should not vilify those who don't agree with us and have lost faith. We need to understand the root causes of why large sections of the population disagree with us and to address the discontent of those who feel they were left behind. Governments and international organizations need to act and show that we care, he said, during a conversation with the former Norwegian foreign minister and current president of the World Economic Forum, Børge Brende. Turning to climate change, the Secretary General said that the reality is worse than what the scientists had predicted. But the problem is that political will is not there. However, he added, technology is on our side, and the private sector and civil society are fully mobilized. While in Davos, the Secretary General held a number of bilateral meetings, including with the President of Colombia, the Prime Minister of Jordan, and Dubai's Minister of Cabinet Affairs and the future Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Gargawi. He also met with Susanna Rogers, a gold medal Paralympic swimmer and disability rights advocate. The Secretary General is now on his way back to New York, where he will arrive tomorrow. You will have seen that last night we issued a statement on Venezuela in which the Secretary General said that he is concerned about reports of casualties in the context of demonstrations and unrest in the country, and he called for a transparent and independent investigation of these incidents. He urged all actors to lower tensions and pursue every effort to prevent violence and avoid any escalation, and underlined the urgent need for all relevant actors to commit to inclusive and credible political dialogue to address the protracted crisis in the country with full respect for the rule of law and human rights. I would like to confirm that the Secretary General welcomes the recent announcement by the Emir of Qatar to allocate $50 million to support Syrian refugees and displaced persons in the Middle East affected by the recent severe weather in the region. The Secretary General is very grateful to the Emir and the people of Qatar for their generosity. As you know, the recent harsh winter conditions in the Levant has had a horrific impact on the populations who are already vulnerable, both refugees as well as the communities hosting them. Humanitarian partners continue to respond to the needs of those who have been affected and are reinforcing preparedness and mitigation efforts. These difficult conditions make Qatar's donation extremely valuable and timely for the UN system's efforts to help vulnerable people. Earlier today, the Undersecretary General for Peace Operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, spoke in Khartoum, Sudan at the opening of the direct dialogue between the government of the Central African Republic and 14 armed groups convened under the African Union Initiative for Peace and Reconciliation in the country. Mr. Lacroix conveyed the UN support for the African initiative to end the crisis in the Central African Republic and called on all parties to seize this important opportunity to bring the country back on the path to stability, peace, and development. Mr. Lacroix will then travel to Chad from the 26th to 29th of January to pay tribute to the 10 Chadian peacekeepers of the UN mission in Mali, killed in an attack against their base in Agalhouk on the 20th of January. He will attend a memorial ceremony that will take place in N'Djamena next Monday. I've been asked about the appointment of the new envoy for the Great Lakes region. You may recall that on the 22nd of January, the Secretary General announced the appointment of Ambassador Wang Xia of the People's Republic of China as a special envoy for the Great Lakes region. Mr. Xia will assume the position of special envoy on the 1st of April 2019. The Secretary General reiterates his deep gratitude to his outgoing special envoy, Said Djinnit, for his distinguished service in West Africa and the Great Lakes region, respectively, over the past 11 years. During that period, Ambassador Djinnit worked closely with the African Union, as well as regional organizations and mechanisms, to tackle complex peace and security challenges on the continent. The Secretary General particularly appreciates Mr. Djinnit's efforts to advance the implementation of the Peace, Security, and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the region. Our humanitarian colleagues report that yesterday, 14 new cases of Ebola were reported in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the largest one-day increase since the beginning of the outbreak on the 1st of August last year. 9 of the new cases were detected near Butembo, a city of 1 million inhabitants. As of the 21st of January, the cumulative number of confirmed and probable cases of Ebola stands at 699, including 433 deaths and 246 survivors. The Ministry of Health, WHO, and humanitarian partners have fully scaled up the response on the ground. A decline in case incidents had recently been reported in Beni, the former epicenter of the outbreak. This is an indication of how effective the response can be despite multiple challenges, including access, contact tracing, and delayed case detection. According to WHO, the current Ebola response is likely to continue for the next 6 months, and the spread of the epidemic, both north and south, remains possible. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction today said that extreme weather events affected 60 million people last year. Earthquakes and tsunamis accounted for the majority of the more than 10,000 lives lost in disaster last year, while extreme weather events accounted for most of the 61.7 million people affected by natural hazards such as floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires. The countries with the most people affected by extreme weather events are India, the Philippines, China, Nigeria, and Guatemala. More information on this is online. And a new report released today by the UN Environment Program found that even though there are significantly more laws to protect the environment, enforcement of these laws is weak, which ends up exacerbating environmental threats. The report found that environmental laws have increased 38-fold since 1972. However, these laws are not enforced properly due to poor coordination across government agencies, weak institutional capacity, lack of access to information, corruption, and stifled civic engagement. UNEP said that having the necessary laws and regulations is not enough, stressing that political will is lacking. You can read the full report on UNEP's website. And this just in. On Yemen, Special Envoy Martin Griffiths and General Patrick Kammert are currently in Riyadh. They held meetings with President Hadi, as well as Saudi and Emirati officials, to discuss suggestions of the Redeployment Committee, Coordination Committee chair for a proposal on redeployment of forces as agreed in Stockholm, access to the Red Sea mills, and the next meeting of the Redeployment Coordination Committee. Following the adoption of Security Council Resolution 2452, we're actively working to stand up the United Nations mission to support the Hudaydah Agreement. And today we mark the first ever International Day of Education proclaimed by the General Assembly last year in celebration of the role of education for peace and development. According to the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, today at least 262 million children and youth still do not attend school, while 617 million children and adolescents cannot read and do basic math. In his message on the day, the Secretary General noted that education transforms lives.
This is a Fox 10 News Alert.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us here on News Now. I am just learning that the Polk County Sheriff has saying that 4 people are dead, 2 others are injured in a shooting in Rockmart this evening. The sheriff said 6 people total were shot on Williamson Street. If you're familiar with the area, the circumstances surrounding the shooting are not immediately known. The names of those involved have not yet been released. Rockmart is located in Polk County, Georgia, not Florida. Polk County, Georgia, about 40 miles northwest of Atlanta. Again, we have been told that it is confirmed 4 people are dead. That's according to the Polk County Sheriff in Georgia. 4 dead, 2 wounded, 4 dead, 2 wounded in shooting scenes in Rockmart, Georgia shooting. That's according to Fox in Atlanta. We are going to continue to follow the story and bring you any updates here on News Now. All right, everyone, I'm going to play the audio right now. Make sure this works.
My biggest fear is that something has happened to her, that she's being held against her will somewhere. But I have to hold on to a glimmer of hope and faith that she is okay.
All right, I think we're good. They have not said anything about if we have a live picture of this situation. I'm trying to figure out if we have it for you. All right, everyone, a lot of moving parts here today. A lot of moving parts. Thanks for sticking with us. "50 seconds away from going live on air." By the way, yes, I do know I'm live. Every time you see me here all confused, guys, reading information, talking to my coworkers here, trying to figure out exactly what's going on so we can get you the latest.
Another station tweeted it as well.
Welcome back to Fox 10 Extra News at 7. I'm Pilar Arias from the News Now set with some breaking news out of Georgia. We are learning that 4 people are dead and 2 are injured after a series of shooting scenes in Rockmart, Georgia. That's according to our sister station, Fox 5 in Atlanta. We're going to continue to follow the story and bring you any updates on air or online as we get them. Meanwhile, this is unfolding in Kentucky. The latest on the investigation into the missing mother who disappeared 3 weeks ago after leaving a Lexington bar with 2 men. Authorities this week are not saying what they have or haven't learned this week, but reports say there has been some activity. Kentucky police seizing a car while executing a search warrant. It's part of the ongoing search for 22-year-old Savannah Spurlock. Spurlock was last seen on surveillance leaving a Lexington bar with these 2 men. One of them lives on the property. Police searched according to media reports. Both of them have been questioned by police, but so far no arrests. Spurlock has 7-week-old twins with her ex-boyfriend of 3 years, Shaquille Smith. Smith and Savannah's mother tell Fox News they do not know the men on the video and say Savannah is a good-hearted, very reliable young mother who does not go to bars often and is constantly in touch.
My biggest fear is that something has happened to her, that she's being held against her will somewhere, but I have to hold on to a glimmer of hope and faith that she is okay.
Ellen Spurlock says on January 3rd, Savannah left their home in Richmond with a female friend. They picked up a male friend in Lexington. Later in the night, Savannah FaceTimed her mom to tell her she would be home in the morning. Savannah's phone has been dead ever since. Police are calling this an active investigation, but they are not releasing what they might have discovered in the house that they searched and the car that they seized. Fox News Now streams live news coverage from across the country all day. A link is on our website, fox10phoenix.com. All right, those of you still with us on the stream, 100 of you watching, you always got to rebound from a bad live hit with a good live hit, right? Again, we do not have a live picture northwest of Atlanta. It's about 40 miles northwest of it in Rockmart. When and if we do get one, we'll bring it to you here, even though we only have about 13 minutes left together this evening. Because remember, when news breaks, we've got it for you. And Rockmart. Did I say Rockport? If I did, apologies. It's Rockmart, Georgia, Polk County Sheriff, and we're so used to hearing Polk County, Florida. So hope you all are having a great evening. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe, like, share, and join us again tomorrow, essentially, is all I can ask for. Me, Mike Page, and the rest of the Fox 10 Phoenix crew. We'll see you then. Stream is not ending just yet. Not. I cannot give you shout outs by saying your screen names or anything close to your screen name, but I am watching live, paying attention to the YouTube chat, chatting with you all, and I can let you know by giving certain references to what you're saying that yes, this is live. Just got a little bit of details, everybody, from Fox 5 in Atlanta. Again, it's our sister station. Just to recap, the Polk County Sheriff said 4 people are dead, 2 others are injured in a shooting in Rockmart. The sheriff said 6 people total were shot with 2 separate scenes near Williamson Street and Rome Street. The circumstances surrounding the shooting were not immediately known. The names of those involved have not yet been released. Rockmart is in Polk County, Georgia, about 40 miles northwest of Atlanta. Better believe it, Mike Pace and I will have all your updates tomorrow.